watch me turn off the android. And
the freaking smirk. Are you talking about the smirk?
Yes, because Riker sits down and he looks like he's about to vomit. He's so disgusted with himself, like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. And Bruce Maddox looks like freaking Mr. Burns, and he's like, excellent. It's so weird.
Mr. Burns.
He looks like Mr. Burns. And he's
That's hilarious.
Excellent. It's very strange. But he's like boring a hole in the back of Data's head with his eyes, and then the Admiral tells Picard, Commander Maddox is here to work on your android. And we find out that Commander Maddox was on the board that reviewed Data's application to Starfleet. He was the only one that denied it because he said that Data was not a sentient being. And ever since then, he's kind of been tooting that horn. And so here we are again, that he still does not think Data is a sentient being, and he wants to disassemble Data. And everybody's like, you want to do what now? So then...
that doesn't seem to make sense.
Yeah, exactly. So, of course, that's like a big, like, what? But then in our next scene, of course, we've got a meeting now. We got Maddox, Picard, Riker, Data. They're in the observation lounge. And
can I say something real
of
quick?
Course. Yeah, go for it.
Nakamura, if he looks familiar, it's because he was in a ton of stuff in like the 70s and 80s. In fact, he played multiple characters on some live action TV shows because back then they were like, hey, let's get this Japanese guy to play another role. Terrible things like that. But he's been in, because I was like, he looks familiar, and I looked him up and I'm like, no wonder I've seen like everything he's ever been in.
Ton of character actor stuff.
Yes, so much. But anyway, because he's kind of gone for, pretty much after this, but he's got a lot of credits in his own right, and I just wanted to throw that out there.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think that's something you see a lot of in Star Trek is a lot of character actors will make an appearance here. People that you go, oh, that was the murderer of the week on Murder, She Wrote. And that was the guy, that was the criminal of the week on the A-Team. And that, you know what I mean? Like they were actors making the rounds, and they were like journeyman actors, and they were just playing characters on all these different series, and Star Trek was no different. It was a great chance to get on TV and play a character. Dude, you didn't have to be into sci-fi, you're just playing a character.
But also, I mean, you had big stars too. I mean, I was watching Starship Mine last night, and Kelsey Grammer is the captain that comes out of the wormhole at the end in the 200-year-old ship. And you had Christian Slater was in Star Trek
6, I believe.
4 or 6? Yeah, 6. Star Trek 6. He was an ensign.
Yes.
Yeah.
Kim Cattrall was in Star Trek 6. You had Whoopi Goldberg, who even back then was a big name. She wanted to be on Star Trek so bad that they wrote a character for her and basically accommodated her schedule whenever she could be on. And actually,
was it Kirstie Alley in one?
Yeah,
she was in Wrath of Khan.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. I was like, I didn't want to say the wrong one, and I thought that's the one that she was in.
Yeah, and then she was Saavik, and then they recast her. Robin Curtis did it in Star Trek 3. They recast her for that. So
God bless Robin Curtis, but she did not do a great job.
No.
I think some of that you can lay at the doorstep of the director and stuff, but after Star Trek 2. Kirstie Alley wanted like all this money, and she wanted like, she was like, oh, I've been in a movie, I'm a movie star now, give me more money and give me this, give me that, and the producers were like, no. So they recast her, and it just didn't go great. But we all know she was in
the best one, so it doesn't matter.
It's true. Even numbered Star Trek movies don't suck. That's how it works. Every other one is good. In this meeting, basically, Maddox goes into how much, he studied Dr. Soong's work. Of course, that's Data's creator. He's like, I'm at this juncture where I've gone as far as I can on my own. I need to disassemble Data and study him. And except he calls him it the entire I had to study it, and I'd want to learn from it. And he basically is like, I'm going to disassemble him. I'm going to dump his memory core into the computer, and then I'm going to basically pick him apart and then hopefully put him back together again. And Data is like, but I don't think that's a good idea because you don't know how to do any of those things. And Maddox is like, it'll be totally fine. No, trust me. It's going to be...
It reminds me, like, from Friends, you know, where Rachel proposes the guy. He's like, I'm going to say no, but thanks, you know?
Exactly. That's exactly what this is.
I wrote down, did anyone check his references?
Yeah. Did he actually graduate from a school or anything? Or is this just a guy? Like, what is the deal here? So, of course, you know, so Data's like, I don't think I want to do this. And Picard's like, let's not do this. And Maddox is like, oh, by the way, because I knew you'd going to be difficult, here are the orders transferring Data from your ship to Starbase 173. And tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., I'm going to chop you up in little pieces, Data. Hope you're ready. And,
which is like this. That's like going to buy a car and then you agree on the price, and also you say, I have a trade-in now. And that's basically what he did when he pulled out the transfer orders. You know, it's like, aha, I gotcha.
Yeah.
I was thinking of like Law and Order or something. They're like, yeah, can we come in? And then the people are like, no. And it's like, oh, by the way, we've got a warrant. It's like, oh,
yeah,
got me.
Well, I think to be fair to Maddox, he really thought he could convince them to just work with him.
Hand him over.
And I think in his mind, the transfer orders were like his ace up his sleeve. If they won't cooperate, I'll hit them with this thing, and then they'll have to do what I say. So, I mean, to his credit, I think he thought he could talk them into it. But, of course, you know, he can't. So, now it becomes, okay, what are we going to do about this? And we get the next scene is a scene in Picard's ready room. Data comes in, and they have a conversation where Data's basically like, I don't want to submit to this procedure. And Picard is like, but I have to think about the interests of Starfleet. Like, this could do a lot of good for Starfleet. And then, like, Data lays this situation on Picard. It's so well articulated and so well said. And he basically reasons with him and says, you know, doesn't Geordi have better eyesight than everybody because of his implants? And yeah. Well, then how come all human officers aren't required to have their eyes removed and have implants put in? And Picard's like, oh, I don't know what to say to that one. And then Data's like, oh, it's because I'm not human. Got it. And
right before, I'm sorry, Rebecca.
No,
but,
go.
Right before that, you know, Picard like gives the government argument to him where he says, you know, he's talking about Starfleet's interests and, you know, being able to construct more of them, and then Data gives him that scenario, and when he says it's, you know, it's precisely, you know, oh, I see, it's precisely because I am not human. And then you just look at the look of where it just hits Picard in that instance, and Patrick Stewart does just a brilliant job of it. And when he realizes, you know, of the, you know, the kind of the double standard of what we're talking about here, really, what I really got, because I watched this episode probably 3 or 4 times this week, and I still was able to pick up things that I didn't pick up before, which is another great indication of a great episode.
Mm-hmm. Oh no, I totally agree with you. I really love this scene because it really does set up Picard's motivation of, you know what, I did give him the government answer of think about the greater good, think about the interests of the state. But then it became, but what if the interest of the state conflicts with the personal choice of its people, of its citizens? And and that's when Picard's like, oh, wait a minute, I need to really think about this because I did not consider that.
Exactly.
I love that then as soon as Data leaves, he starts pulling up, you know, from the computer, like all information about transferring of officers, like, looking for rules and laws that he can use. In the next scene, Picard goes to see Philippa for some guidance. She's sarcastic, of course, and she's teasing him, and he's like, well, I didn't have anywhere else to go, did I? You're the JAG officer, right? Mm-hmm. So, like, do your job, help me with this law business, and she, you know,
like, be the JAG officer, not a JAG off. Come on.
Exactly.
Sorry.
Every time I hear that term JAG, like, that's all I could think about, really, about being a JAG off, because, yeah, that's probably why the show JAG didn't do great among younger viewers.
Yeah, it was like, it did really well in the grandparents set.
Oh, yeah.
My grandparents watched it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Hey, I watched JAG. What is that about?
I mean, my mom watched JAG too, but you're, you know.
But you are
I don't know why.
Joe.
Now?
Not then.
I mean, I remember watching it some with them. And that one guy was really cute, and I cannot even think of what his name is. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's a whole other thing.
That's a whole other story.
Yeah.
Okay, so Picard gets really, like, worked up, and he's like, you know, this is important to me. He has rights. You know, we can't just do this. There has to be options. And she's like, well, there's always an option. He can resign from Starfleet, and then no one can make him do anything. You know, and then Picard leaves, and she says, you know, she wishes that things were different between them. And then Picard's like, I wish I could believe that. So that's kind of like a sad little moment there between them. Which,
you know, she says, well, you know, she tells him, she goes, you know, I'm glad that you felt you could. And then she pauses, you know, come to me. And then another dig he gets in. He's like, the word trust just isn't in your vocabulary. 9 out of 10 for effort. I'm like, he's just, he is still holding on to, I mean, it's good stuff.
It is. And, you know, this is Sir Patrick Stewart. I mean, he is just putting on, but he does this all the time. Like, he acts his heart out in this role of Picard in anything that he does, really. But yeah, that's a great scene too between him and Philippa. But so basically, that's what happens. Data resigns from Starfleet because he has no other choice but to resign. Otherwise, he's going to be transferred against his will. So we get a scene of Data. He's in his quarters. He's packing to leave. And he's got a little hologram of Tasha Yar. And he's got his medals. He's got a book. And then, like, he goes in the other room to go get whatever.
I know.
And Maddox, I mean, I wrote this in the notes. You guys see it. Yeah. Maddox just strolls in like he owns the place. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, oh, excuse you, mister. Like, and even Data's like, isn't it customary to knock before entering one's quarters? Like, hello? And he tries to kind of convince Data to work with him after all. And, you know, Data really expresses here why he doesn't want to do it. He's like, yeah, you might preserve, like, the facts of the moment. Like, you might preserve the memory, but the essence, the flavor, the substance of the memory is going to be lost. And I just thought, like, as human beings, I mean, isn't that what we cherish most about memories? Like if you smell something and it takes you back to a moment of your childhood, it's more than just remembering facts and dates. It's remembering a feeling and remembering how you felt in a moment. Imagine losing that.
Yeah.
That would be devastating.
The other thing that was common in this episode that happens in all episodes, no matter if you lose a job or leaving, everything can always fit in one banker type box.
It sure
no matter
can.
What show, if somebody gets canned, they could have an office the size of my house. Everything fits into a box when they walk out. That's just the way it is.
It's just the way it is. Everything fits into this space age cargo bag from
Space bag.
Space bag.
Yes, they're little canister bags. It's like Mary Poppins carpet bag. They can just shove everything in it.
Oh yeah, it's
bigger
wild.
on the inside.
I know, it's wild. Everything just fits in there, no matter what.
I still think they're cool.
They are cool. I mean, it's space age technology. I mean, space